Good evening. I see some hands raised and we are about to get started. Looks like we have a few people that are joining. We will open up for Q&A at the end of our session.
Wani, can you give me permission to turn my video on?
Yes.
Me too, Wani.
Okay.
And I am Yadira Herbert from Translation Services. When the meeting starts, after I introduce myself, if you could turn the interpreter feature on so that way I can interpret into Spanish.
Great. So turn the translation feature on.
After I introduce myself, and I'll let the parents know to switch to Spanish if they need to.
Perfect. Thank you. Elizabeth, do you have access?
Time. Yes, there we are. Okay, so I will share.
Okay.
Okay, we see that people are still logging on, so we will start in just a minute. All right, it's 5:35, so we are going to get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight to hear about our plans for specialized units re-entry. I would like our presenters to introduce themselves first. My name is Elizabeth Casas, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Special Populations.
My name is Yadira Herbert. I'm from Translation Services. If the presenter will please turn on the interpreter feature, and I will let the parents know if they need to hear the meeting in Spanish, they can switch to Spanish.
Okay.
Padres de familia, si necesitan escuchar esta información en español, por favor, escojan
Good
español.
evening, I'm Juani Gaitan. I am the Executive Director of Engagement Services. Thank you for joining us tonight.
So, padres, si necesitan la información en español, habrá la intérprete y ahorita se comenzará, pero también a las 6:30 se recibirá la misma presentación en español. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
It's okay. Good evening. My name is Michelle Brown, and I am the Executive Director for Special Education.
Okay, Juan, if you'll turn on the interpreter feature and then we'll get started.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, families, thank you for joining us. The feature at the bottom, you will see a Q&A. So if you have any specific questions, you can enter them there, and we will be monitoring them and providing responses, or we will provide as many responses as we can at the end. Okay, so let's get started. So today we're here to talk about how we're going to serve our students in our specialized self-contained classrooms. Dallas ISD is committed to providing a rigorous educational experience for all students, and we are ready to welcome our students back in person. We want to make sure that our students with the more severe disabilities have an opportunity to receive their instruction in person by their teachers. Here is the agenda for this evening. We'll give a brief overview of special education in Dallas ISD, review the timeline, and then talk about what distance learning will look like and then what in-person learning will look like. So in Dallas ISD, we serve about 15,000 students who receive special education services. The majority of our students are 75% of them are in mainstream, inclusion, or resource. These students are generally in the general education classroom, and they receive support from their classroom teacher as well as support from their special education teacher and related service providers. About 25% of our students have more severe disabilities, and they are in self-contained specialized classrooms. These classrooms include PPCD, deaf, hard of hearing, vision impaired, total communications, functional living skills, assisted daily living, students at the Collier Center, and WIN is our crisis unit. Today, we're here to talk about services for the 25% of our students who are in self-contained classrooms. In July, when we started planning on re-entry for this group of students in particular, because in this spring, we did hear from many families and teachers that the distance learning environment was very challenging for some of our students to be able to sit in front of a computer for extended periods of time. So we put out a survey to the parents of students in self-contained classrooms and our specialized unit teachers. We were asked 2 questions. If on September 8th you had a choice for in-person, on-campus instruction or distance learning, would you choose to bring your students back on campus? And you can see that 35% of our parents said that they would want to have the on-campus experience, and teachers, we were at 47%. The second question was, if the district chose to do distance learning only, and there was an opportunity to do a few hub sites across the districts, and so we were planning on doing maybe 5 or 6 different open units in different areas of the district, would the parents be willing to bring their students back? And you can see that 99% of the parents said that they would. But if they had the option to open their classroom at their home campus, the percentage went up from 35% to 54%. And it was with this piece of data that we started planning for as soon as it was physically safe to bring students back on campus, that we wanted to open up our specialized classrooms for our neediest students. And so here's the plan. So beginning September 17th, students in the self-contained specialized classrooms that we're talking about, and they are the ECSE, formerly known as PPCD, and then the other classrooms, which are the Total Communications, FLS, ADL, Collier, and WIN. These units, which are self-contained in the classroom, will start in-person instruction on September 17th. The students who are receiving special education services in the redirection, which is a behavior type classroom, or the early childhood collaboratives would continue in the distance learning, as well as the students that are receiving inclusion services. And the reason that these students are not included is that part of their daily schedule is included in the general education setting. And so as soon as the schools open up, this group of students will also be returning. But for now, we're only going to open up for the classrooms that are self-contained. And so generally these classrooms only have between 8 to 12 students. And so at 50%, there would be about 4 to 6 students per classroom. But as always, we're following and monitoring the guidance from the county health department. Yesterday in the news, it was advertised that the county has gone down from a red alert to an orange alert. And in the orange zone, they recommend that schools start providing services to our neediest students, such as our special education students. But we will continue to monitor the data closely, and if the numbers go up or if there's any changes, then we will adjust our plans based on the latest information from our county health department. And so here is the timeline for reentry. This week, we had a webinar with all of the teachers and administrators to explain the process and give our campus staff some action items. So the week of September 1st through the 4th, you parents should be having a phone call from your classroom teachers for them to introduce themselves, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the week of September 1st through the 4th, all teachers are contacting your families. So if you have not heard from your teachers by the end of the day Friday, then I would recommend that you reach out to your campuses. So by September 4th, the teachers have to have had a conversation with our families to tell them about the choice for distance learning or in-person instruction. And we need that information if we can get it by the 4th, because we need to start planning transportation and meal services and everything to be prepared to provide instruction on the 17th. On September 8th, everyone, 100% of the district, is going to start the year with distance learning. So next Tuesday, all of our students, whether you're inclusion or in a self-contained classroom, everyone is starting the distance learning those first 2 weeks. And then starting the 17th, parents, you will have the option. You can continue with distance learning, or you can choose to bring your student back for in-person instruction. And so what does the communication look like this week? So parents, teachers should be calling you to introduce themselves and discuss what the distance learning schedule will look like starting on next Tuesday, September the 8th. They will also talk to you about the option for in-person instruction starting the 17th, and you will be able to tell them if you want to continue with distance learning or if you want to bring your child back for in-person instruction. And they should be asking information about transportation, medical needs, dietary needs, so that we can be fully prepared to receive your student on September 7th if you choose to return to on-campus instruction. So everyone should receive some type of communication by tomorrow, Friday, by the end of the day. And again, if you haven't received any communication, then we recommend that you reach out to the school so that you can understand what your options are and get the information for September the 8th. Instructional models. So we're going to talk a little bit about the instructional models.
Okay, Ms. Casas, that's me. So just to recap, remember, we all know that school starts September 8th and it's distance learning for all children of Dallas ISD. Children in specialized units or specialized classroom, you're going to participate in distance learning from September 8th to September 16th. Starting September 17th, you will have a choice for your child if your child is in a self-contained classroom. You may choose to continue to do distance learning, or you may choose to have in-person learning. So the campus teacher will be able to facilitate the learning for both distance and in campus. Now, let's take a deeper look at the three models. So one, like I mentioned before, September 8th to the 16th, all students will start distance learning. But September 17th, we have two additional models. A teacher can both support in-campus and distance learning, or campus can choose to have one teacher conducting all the distance learning, and then another teacher will do the in-person. However, parents, the decision you make, you will get excellent learning for your child. Next slide, please. Let's dig a little bit deeper into what your child's day will look like. So there's two key words that you need to keep in mind. Your child's day will be divided between guided learning activities and independent learning activities. So let's focus on guided learning. Guided learning, what does that look like? This means that the teacher is directly instructing your child. She might be working with your child in a small group. And sometimes you will notice that your child will be working with the teacher one-on-one. The teacher will be given an assignments, and the teacher can also record the lessons, and she might be given some assessments doing that guided learning. Now, there's another opportunity for your child to engage in learning. This is called independent learning or independent practice. Different activities might include utilizing online software programs, different class assignments, homework assignments, or assessments. So both areas, your child will be engaged in activities throughout the day. Next slide. It doesn't matter which model you choose, because these things you can expect in both models if you choose distance or face-to-face or in person. Your child's IEP will be fully implemented. The accommodations and modifications will be followed. Your child will receive their related services such as speech, OT, PT, VI. They will receive those services. And parents, remember, it's important to remember this, daily attendance will count, and the teachers will do progress monitoring and collect data so they can make great instructional decisions for your child. So make sure that your child is logging in every day. Next slide. Now let's take a peek at distance learning. Let's dig a little bit deeper. And we're actually going to show you a video of what to expect in distance learning. Let's show the video. I think we need to turn up the volume. The video will show different examples of the experience. Oh, there it goes.
Questions about what that could look like, so we're here to share those changes. Your child will receive instruction through two primary methods: guided learning and independent learning. During guided learning, teachers will directly teach students using various video conference platforms or recorded lessons. But through independent learning, students will complete assignments that reinforce what was covered through guided learning. You will find comfort in knowing each day students in a special education specialized classroom start with a morning meeting to address social and emotional needs and set expectations for the day. Teachers will work in both a whole group setting and one-on-one with students while focusing on IEP goals and objectives. These sessions will be held several times throughout the school day, targeting the individual needs of each student. But don't worry, teachers will provide multiple brain breaks so students remain engaged. But we simply can't do this without you. Parents and caregivers will need to help their student log on and off of guided lessons, as well as be available to support their child during independent learning. Each day closes with a special activity learned that day to build the classroom community. And we didn't forget about lunch. Student lunches will still differ by school, but with distance learning in particular, it will be the parent's responsibility to ensure their child eats at home. Make sure your student is logged in each day, as attendance will be taken daily. Please note the district's normal grading and testing rules will apply this school year. And parents, during the month of September, will also need your help. You'll soon receive information on how students will be asked to take a beginning of the year assessment at their campus. It's only one day, and the information will help us know exactly where they are academically. We know the start of the school year will be like no other, and Dallas ISD is committed to making sure every student is successful in any learning environment we offer. Our schools are ready to assist with any questions or additional information they can provide. Thank you for sharing your student with us as we continue to navigate this new learning experience.
Wow, I'm so excited to meet your child on September 8th. That video gets me excited, and I know our teachers in Dallas ISD is ready. So the next slide, I bet you're wondering what will that day look like for my child? So in Model 1, some of the classrooms, an example of what your child might experience when they first log on is a morning message. This morning message helps to bring the focus of the day, helps the students to understand the learning goals. It helps the teacher to check on the students to see how they're feeling and if they're ready to start the day. Then the teacher may move on to reading language arts or Spanish language arts. After that, they might have guided instruction with social studies. And if on this schedule, you will notice that after they conduct reading language arts and social studies, they will move into independent. Remember, independent activities is where the student is working with you, parents, as a learning coach to complete those assignments. And then this teacher, she decided she wanted to bring the students back into a meeting to talk about math and science. And then she had groups to go back to work on assignments. And it looks like she decided to bring a few students back together in small groups, or maybe one or two students to work on their IEP goals or objectives. And at the end of the day, the students, we didn't forget about specials parents. So there's activities, there's music, and there's art and physical education activities for your child to engage in. And then there's a closing. Now, parents, this is what we need your help. We want to make sure that you, if you're doing distance learning, you keep that routine. So make sure you get your child up, feed them breakfast, give them a healthy lunch when it's time. And of course, you want to make sure they have plenty of brain breaks and movement throughout the day.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And as she mentioned, this is a sample schedule. So everyone should get a customized schedule from the teacher by Friday so that you can know what Tuesday on September 8th will look like, because everybody will be doing distance learning on September 8th. So here's some information about the digital learning tools, the technology. Students who are in pre-kinder, first and second, will receive an iPad, and the platform will be Seesaw, and video communication will be via Zoom. For third graders, 6th through 8th graders and 9th through 12th graders, they are receiving a Chromebook. And the platform is either Google Classroom or PowerSchool. And you see that Zoom, Google Meets, or Microsoft Teams, the teachers will be using those platforms for video conferencing. And so it's really important that you work with the teachers so that you know how to access the different materials. And so the first question is, as a parent, how do I log on? So here is the Clever website. So when you go through Parent Portal, you will receive your student's user ID and the password, and you will use that to log into Clever. And so the district is asking everyone to try to log on before Tuesday so that you can access the curriculum and you can see what it looks like. And so we have heard today that there have been some challenges with the user IDs. So please be patient if you're having some problems, and we should have those resolved very quickly. But again, through Parent Portal, when you register, you will receive the student ID and the password. And so if you have not registered, we are asking everyone to register this year for the parents that are returning. So that is different from last year, where you would normally not have to register if you were returning. So please make sure that you have registered online, and you will get information on your student ID and also technology. And so here is just a screenshot of what it looks like when you log into Clever. You will see the platform, which for the little ones, it's the Seesaw or Google Classroom or the PowerSchool LMS for the older students. And then we also wanted to share this additional resource that's available on our website for parents to access different information. And so I'm going to click on the link. And so hopefully everybody can see this. And so you see that on this Education Evolution website, you have access to all of these materials. So if you are having trouble with devices, you can click on here. If you're new to Chromebook, new to iPads, there's tons of materials here so that you can access. And then here is the information on the Chromebook, how to request a Chromebook or a hotspot, and the technology service desk. And all that information is available on our district webpage. Okay. Let me come out of this one and go back to the presentation. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what does on-campus and distance learning. So remember, on September 8th, everyone is doing distance learning. Starting September 17th, parents, you in specialized self-contained classrooms will have the option to come back for on-campus instruction. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that will look like now. Turn it over to Ms. Juani Valdespino.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Casas. So as we begin to open our doors for our campuses, beginning in phases, specifically starting with our students who are in specialized classrooms, some students will continue to choose to learn from home. So to give you an idea of what this is going to look like or what you can expect, you see a table here on this slide that shows that while some students are engaged in guided learning, for example, our students that are on campus might be engaged in a guided learning lesson with the teacher, with giving direct instruction. The students that are at home participating in distance learning will be working on independent work. Then you'll see how this time, just how they flip-flop this time so that the teacher can provide guided learning at different times to different groups. But however, sometimes the teacher might bring the students together, those students that are working independently, those students that are working at home and those students that are working in the classroom. She might bring the students together through a Zoom call or a Google Meets call, just so that the students have the opportunity to connect with each other and to engage in instruction together. Next slide, please. So just to let you know, one of our most important plans and something that's so important to us as we re-enter into our buildings is that we have a focus on safety. Let's go over our safety protocols. We're going to follow a 5-step protocol in an effort to minimize the spread of COVID-19. The first step, as you see here on the slide, begins with screening. Screening will take place for both staff and students daily. This screening includes questions about whether or not the staff or student have had direct contact with someone diagnosed with COVID-19 or if they've had any symptoms. Parents will assist younger children with the self-screening. Temperature checks will be taken before students get on the bus and on campus as they enter into the building for students that do not ride the bus using touchless thermometers. If a student has a temperature of 100.4 or higher, they will not be allowed to get on the bus. A white fleet bus will be dispatched to pick the student up. Middle schools and high schools with over 1,200 students will also have temperature-taking metal detectors at their schools. The next step is assessment. If symptoms begin to develop, the student or the adult will report to the nurse for an assessment. They will be isolated and the parent will be contacted to pick the child up. The nurse will report to the principal and complete some paperwork to submit to our health services department, which is really important for tracing purposes. The principal will move the class to a temporary site and isolate the room and isolate the students and disinfect the room. The principal will give a seating chart to the nurse for contact tracing. Health services will evaluate all the information and provide advice. A notification letter will be sent out to all of those who have been in contact while protecting privacy, so students will not be identified whenever those calls are made. Parents of the students who have been seated within 6 feet or for more than 15 minutes will be notified of possible exposure. Students must quarantine depending on the symptoms that they are experiencing, and again, following guidance from health officials. It's so important that we make sure that we have all of the correct and most updated contact information for every single family in the event we need to notify a parent that their child is feeling ill, or if we need to reach any parent. So that, I think, is most important as we're trying to ensure safety of all of our students and staff. Depending on exposure, depending on exposure, we may end up having to close some classrooms or hallways or a grade level, a wing, a building. Again, this is all going to be based on recommendations from the county health department. We might have to close for 24 hours or a few days, and we might have to ask our students or staff to quarantine. We're going to follow the guidance of our local health department. Notice that if we do this, that all students do have access to a device. So they all have a one-to-one device, and so they will be able to continue their learning. If we do end up having to close any of our buildings or classes, students will continue with instruction through distance learning. Because safety is so important, we have made sure this summer that all staff have been trained. There will be training practices that teachers will teach students as well to ensure that all appropriate safety measures are being implemented and that we are following CDC guidelines. We want to make sure that we are focused on reducing and preventing exposure to COVID-19. We're ensuring social, or what we're calling now physical distancing, by providing required training to everyone, including communication. We're providing posters, 6-foot markers to just remind everyone of the practices, reminding everyone to keep their space from each other. We're also providing just constant updates and communication to our staff. We're redesigning classrooms, providing guidance to teachers in trainings, and then just at the campus as teachers are returning to their campus, they're redesigning their classrooms, ensuring that there is appropriate spacing between our students. We're also limiting travel. Staff that usually would have visited a school will now be providing support virtually if they don't need to be there in person. So really just trying to limit contact at the campus level. So we just also want you to be reassured that we are being very intentional about our cleaning and sanitizing process. Campuses will be sprayed weekly. All classrooms will be equipped with plenty of hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes, and spray air purifiers in rooms, especially those rooms without windows. And rest assured that we will also be changing out our air filters frequently. and including just thinking about our trainings, all of our trainings do include appropriate ways to hand wash and to sanitize. These trainings will also be reiterated on a regular basis with our staff and students. So we're also going to provide training to our staff on the use of PPE and reminding them of our district expectations to practice the CDC recommendations. There was a time, this is important to also make note of, there was a time that, that we may have heard that students did not, or children or people did not have to wear their face masks. That has changed. What we know now is that students do, everyone does have to wear their face mask, even if they are wearing a face shield. So face masks will be required for everyone, even if they're wearing a shield. So we're going to be reviewing our handbooks and our online materials to make sure that, that this expectation is clearly written in all of our manuals. So now we have a video that we want to show you to summarize these practices that you just heard about.
Uh-oh. Well. Hold on. Let me try one more time from here. Uh-oh, our video is not working. Well, unfortunately, the video is not working, but the video was just kind of showing all of the different pieces that the students will experience, such as the hand sanitizing station. Students will be getting bins, individual bins where they keep their personal materials. It showed how the social distancing in the hallways, the markers, how students will have to walk with the 6 feet distancing. And so we do apologize if the video is not working. Okay, Ms. Brown, do you want to jump back in?
Yes, I'm ready. Okay, so now we're ready for questions. Let's click the next slide. So there's a lot of resources for you. So on the Dallas ISD website, you will find tons of information for the start of the 2020-21 school year. Ms. Casas, please click the link. If you go to Dallas ISD Reentry, you will find information related to what is a day in the life of your child. Scroll, please. You will find information on enrollment, calendars, school hours, technology. There's actually a technology question in the chat. So right here is where you will go if you have technology questions. Keep scrolling down. We have information regarding transportation, and I think there's a couple of more. Mental health resources, frequently asked questions, and I think the last one is uniforms. So please visit the Dallas ISD website. Go under parents, and it's under back to school information, and it says Dallas ISD Reentry. And you will find all of those FAQs and great information to help your child to get a fantastic start of the school. Now, we also have another resource for you. We have a system that's called Let's Talk. The Let's Talk system allows you as parents to directly send your questions to the special education department. You can also send questions. I noticed that a couple of parents have students in 504. You can also send your questions to the 504 office. Once you get there, it's going to give you the options of big topics of which you can choose from. So if you want your question to go to the transportation department, you will click there. You will enter your name, your child's name, and a good contact information such as the email address or a telephone number. Put your question and someone will get back to you ASAP. We will also help you to connect with your families.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Juani can share hers, because it looks like she can share the. Juani, are you able to share your screen to show the video, the safety video?
Give me just a second, please.
Okay. Michelle, in the meantime, do you want to check the Q&A and see
Of
if there are
course.
any questions that we can respond to?
Absolutely. So if the question is, can I choose to just go, if I choose in person, can I choose to go half day? The answer is no. You will have to choose distance learning, a full-time schedule, or in-person learning, which is a full-time schedule. So parents, you have to make that decision of what is best for your family. Ms. Casas, there's a couple of questions in Spanish in the chat that have not been answered.
Can I take
Okay.
just a minute? I'll go ahead and show the video before we continue. Is that okay?
Sure. Go ahead, Juani.
District did was we were in a position where, from our superintendent down, it is student safety. We
Juani, will you share your screen?
get the student safety piece wrong.
If you will share your screen.
Yep, sorry, it wasn't showing.
There it goes.
Thanks.
Dallas ISD is excited to welcome your child back to school and is working hard to create a safe environment. Here to share more with you is David Bates, Executive Director of Maintenance and Facilities.
What the Dallas Independent School District did was we were in a position where, from our superintendent down, it is student safety. We can do a lot of things wrong, but we can't get the student safety piece wrong, right? We got to protect our kids, our teachers, our staff, our principals, our parents, our community. And that's what we've been working on all summer long. Not all of it's in, but we were able to place the order in time to get it in prior to us opening our doors for students.
Temperature checks when students arrive. Students riding the bus will have their temperatures checked before boarding, and they will wear masks and load from back to front when possible. Markers throughout the school will help students maintain social distancing while walking in the hallways. Each student will have their own storage bin where they can switch out their supplies and their mask for a face shield. Plexiglass dividers inside the classroom and other desks will be spaced out 6 feet apart. Sanitation stations throughout the school, in addition to other identified times to wash hands. Each student will also receive their own bottle of refillable hand sanitizer. Common areas such as doorknobs and water fountains will be cleaned multiple times a day. Plexiglass dividers inside the cafeteria. Staff will spray on electromagnetic disinfectant every week.
And once, schools are back in session, I think people will notice like the pieces that are in place and the practices that we're putting in place to keep students and staff and parents and community at large, as safe as possible.
Thank you, Juani. So one of the questions in the Q&A is if a parent chooses distance learning or in-person instruction on the 17th, when can they change their mind? And so we're going to follow the same regulations that the general ed population will follow. And so if you choose virtual instruction on the 17th and then decide that you want to come in person, you will have to wait until October 6th when the schools open up for everyone. So you'll have a second opportunity to choose to come back 2 weeks after we open up. If you choose in-person instruction and for whatever reason, maybe you just don't feel comfortable with the student coming back, or maybe they're not feeling well, then you can choose from in-person instruction to virtual instruction at any time. It's just when you are in the virtual environment coming to in-person, we're doing that at the end of the grading period, or in this case, when the schools open up on October 6th or 7th. And so we do that because we need to make sure that we're prepared, that we have enough PPE, that the classroom is ready with all the supplies that they need to make sure that our students are safe.
Ms. Casas, I saw an excellent question in the chat.
Okay.
This parent wanted to know, what would my direct services look like, such as OT or PT, if I am choosing virtual learning? So remember, we in Dallas ISD look at each child individually. So your child's IEP is going to guide how that instruction would look like. So what I want you to do is contact your child's case manager, or if you know that your child received the same, is going to have the same therapist as they received last year, reach out to them, and they probably are going to reach out to you first so that they can give you the right information and what it would look like in a virtual setting.
Ms. Brown, another question came in around just how you can talk to your child's teacher because school is going to start in 5 days. Know that you can call the school directly. The office manager is working. They can connect you with the teacher. They can give you the teacher's email address or let you know how to connect with the teacher. And if that isn't working for you, if that doesn't work, you can feel free to call our social workers at 972-581-4120, and they can also try to call and connect you with the school.
Okay, let's see what other questions we can respond to. There's a question in here about transportation. If your students received transportation last year, then they will continue to receive transportation. When the teacher calls to get your information, they will identify if the student already received transportation, and they will initiate the routing so that we can be prepared for the 17th. If you didn't have transportation last year, then we can convene an ARD, and then you can request, and the transportation will be considered as a service.
There's also a question about whether or not there will be a recording of this meeting. And yes, this meeting is being recorded. And so we will be able to share this meeting. And then in our next call at 6:30, we will have a Spanish meeting, and that will be recorded as well.
And it will be posted on the special education website under departments on the district website. Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about speech and dyslexia services?
Sure, I would love to. So dyslexia service, you're going to still get that same quality service as when your child participated on the campus. Each child will get we're calling it a learning kit. It's the manipulatives and the workbooks. So they will have all of those items in the distance learning environment. They're using a platform such as Zoom or Seesaw, and the teachers are going to be able to provide all of the great instruction to help your child with literacy. And the same is for speech. We have a platform called Presence Learning, and it has all of the tools and manipulatives that a child will need in order to get good quality services for speech.
Michelle, there's a question about a student with visual impairment. Is there additional equipment or resources that will be provided to students?
Absolutely. So what I want you to do, again, each child is different. We look at your child's individual needs, their IEP. So your first stop is always to talk to your case manager. If you are struggling or you're running into some roadblocks reaching your case manager, you can always reach out to us using the Let's Talk system, and we will definitely connect you to the right person and to make sure that your child's needs are being met.
Okay, here's a good question. If the parent chooses to bring their student back for in-person instruction on the 17th, do they need to bring their Chromebooks with them? We would suggest that yes, that they bring their device with them to school, because we want the children to continue to access their curriculum via their technology. And then again, it's because we want students to be familiar with the device in the event that, again, the schools might have to close in October or December, and that way they're familiar with how to access all of their materials, their assessments, and their assignments.
It looks like we have time for one more question. Wadi, have you noticed or found a question that maybe we can address in the chat?
I see some questions again that are specific to campuses. So there's a question about whether or not specials will be taking place in the classroom, and then how do you make your decision for returning to school on the 17th. Some of these questions you will need to communicate with your teacher, because the schedule and what that implementation looks like at each school will be dependent upon the school. So whether or not specials will take place in the school, in the classroom, or in the specials room, please ask those questions. Those are really great questions to ask your child's teacher, but then also let your teacher know. They should be notifying you by tomorrow of your, to ask you what your decision is if you are interested in sending your child to the school if your child is in one of our specialized units. So please let them know. If that is your case, let your child's teacher know.
And I'm going to recommend parents, right after this webinar, you go to the Dallas ISD Special Education website. We have a FAQ that gives you a question and answers some of those questions that you are regarding your child's IEP, arts, direct services. We thought about a lot of those things, questions that you might have, and it's already listed there. And if your question is still not being answered, please go to our Let's Talk system, and then someone will reach you or talk to you directly.
Thank you, Michelle and Juani. And so to summarize, as we close out, September 8th, everyone is doing distance learning. Parents in specialized self-contained classrooms have the option to return for in-campus face-to-face instruction starting the 17th. And so parents, we know that this is a decision that's going to be very individual to you and your family. And so today we tried to provide you with as much information so that you can make the decision that's best for you and your family. And so we hope that you found the information very informative. This video will be posted on our website in the special education under departments of Dallas ISD. It'll be posted both in English and Spanish so that you can review it again. So we thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. We are excited to see your children back on the 8th and provide them the best education possible. And again, we are here to serve you. Let us know how we can support you. Let's Talk is available 24 hours a day. You know, reach out through there or reach out through our schools. Most definitely connect with your teachers, connect with your campuses, and we will see you on September 8th. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.